YouTube, and welcome to the Obelisk. My name is Sebastian Mab, and I will be your tour guide. I'm doing something, very different today. I'm actually not doing a gameplay video. This is actually going to be strictly about my son. And the road to where he is now. This actually happened, well, before anything, I have to actually start from the beginning. Honestly, before he was even thought of or conceived, I met a wonderful woman who happens to be the mother of my child. You can believe in that whole it was by chance or it was by fate crap if you want to. Me personally, I believe it was just my destiny, so to speak, too, because you don't hold in your heart destiny or anything like that. You know, you mold it with your own hands. That's how I believe you work destiny. Destiny isn't preset. You make it with your own hands. Anyway, and I know she's gonna correct me if I'm wrong. But basically it was about, I want to say around January of 2015, between October 2014, January 2015, me and her actually started talking over Facebook. We both had really rough relationships.
You're way off. That
yep.
was like July.
July what?
2013.
I told you she was gonna correct me. July in 2013 is when we started talking. She was dating kind of a douchebag. I was dating.
Skip over that.
No.
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think of it.
I was dating somebody I'm not too pleased about dating. Needless to say, I'm actually gonna do as she asked. I'm gonna skip a chunk of it. Needless to say, as fate would have it, we started talking, and as much as I don't like to look at it this way, I kind of swept the rug out from underneath him and was the prince on the white horse that swept her off her feet and carried her off into the sunset. Yeah, that was me at the time. I was apparently Prince Charming, although I don't really consider myself that good looking.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
But at the time, that's what I was. I swept her right off her feet, subconsciously, I guess you could say. We started talking more and more. Of course, I was the one who professed my love to her first, and she really didn't know how to take it. She was quite shocked about it. We didn't end up actually meeting each other face to face until October, I believe, right? Yeah. And at the time, this was when I was getting along with my stepfather. Me and him, fortunately, don't talk anymore, which is for the best, in my opinion. If you ever meet him, he might tell you otherwise. But, he ended up bringing me from Saratoga to, where she used to live. We no longer live at that area. We still do live in the same city as she lived. But we ended up meeting for the first time ever. She seen me. She was kind of shocked. She was blushing. Honestly, my face was lit up like a friggin' Christmas tree. We had no idea what to expect. For the most part, I mean, in my pictures, I looked tall, but in person, I was actually a lot taller than she expected. And everything, but that's where it started. I believe it was actually October 26th I came up.
30th.
Yeah, 30th. And we had been dating for about 2.5 months, right? Before I was actually able to come up. And then after that first visit, you know, I made it more of a priority to try and come up more. I came up October 30th. I came up in November. I came up in Christmas. I actually spent Christmas and the weekend with her and her family. Well, that's why I said Christmas through Christmas weekend. Plus, I actually stayed longer than Christmas weekend. I stayed till after New Year's. But needless to say, that time when I ended up taking and spending that amount of time, I actually took a bus to come up and see her that time. But because I had unfortunately lost my license. Yeah. Anyway, that wasn't my fault. It was a stupid mistake that a former friend of mine made. Note to anybody, don't drink and drive. Or let your drunk friends know where your car keys are stashed. But, I mean, after that, you know, she came down to where I was living in Saratoga at the time, and actually ended up, we ended up doing a couple of things and whatnot. She came down basically to help me pack my stuff because I was moving up here. Because it was just quieter and actually less stressful environment for myself. But
Thank you.
when it came down to it, around April 29th, well, actually it was April 29th around, I want to say, around between 3 and 5 p.m., she wasn't feeling really all that well.
I hadn't had my period that month, which was kind of where we were thinking, oh, well, maybe, but I've never had a regular schedule. I've had months where I haven't gotten my period.
I don't know why that needed to be in the video, but
because
okay.
We're getting to the part about him.
Well, like she said, I wasn't going to put that in there, but she did.
And I had collapsed in the bathroom. You're going to leave it out, so I'm adding it.
You see what she does to me?
It gets confusing.
And prior to that, she was having cravings of ice cream. Bum, 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 bum. But no.
That wasn't why we were thinking things. It was because I was getting sick several times a day, and that wasn't with me either.
But after that, I decided, I actually didn't decide. She kept telling me no, and I kind of forced her to go to the hospital. I told her if she didn't go, I was going to throw her over my shoulder, and I was going to carry her to the hospital. Which, that luckily didn't happen. My grandmother ended up finally bringing us to the hospital for us to find out. And we found out around 8:30, 9 o'clock that evening that she was pregnant. And how many weeks pregnant were you at that point in time?
They didn't say. They said considering I had only been there for a few weeks, I was only like 3 weeks along. I wasn't very far at all. And they were surprised I found out early.
Yes.
Because usually you don't find out that early unless you're pregnant with twins.
She was about 3 weeks along. So we were frantic. I remember actually the first person I called was my grandmother. And she was like, "So what's wrong?" I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna be a father." And for like a good 5 minutes, I thought my grandmother hung up on me. Because there was nothing coming from the other end of the phone. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, she was stuttering and mumbling. So it came as a shock to myself and everybody else that I had told. I actually myself took to Facebook after that, and I told everybody.
You let me call Mom first.
After, of course, she called her mother, but the first 3 people to know were her father, her mother, and my grandmother, aside from us.
And Derek.
Well, I mean, Derek found out anyway, because he was told about it.
Yeah.
But he was one of the first as well. There were basically only 5 people that knew, off the bat. But after that, I took to social media. All my friends started congratulating me and whatnot. I lost a few friends because they said I wasn't ready for it, and I told them to stuff their faces with robot dicks and chickens and all that. No, I'm just kidding.
It's dangerous.
But I basically told them to shove it. If they felt that way, then they didn't need to be in my life.
That's not their life, anyway.
But needless to say, that ended up happening that night. We ended up getting a OBGYN in Saratoga, I believe about a month and a half later. We got everything taken care of and straightened out. Then began the long 9 months, which felt like prison.
I'm glad you think so.
To probably Xander. We had given an eviction notice after 9 months. But when it came down to it, it was the longest 9 months of my life, but it was well worth the wait. As you can clearly hear him, he is doing very well. He's actually going to be a year old in 10 days. His birthday is the 20th of January. So if you want, you can comment, "Happy birthday, Xander." It's spelled Xander. I don't know how many times me and my fiance both get told that we're spelling his name wrong.
We're the ones who chose his name. We can spell it however we want.
Exactly. But yes, Xander, I feel you crawling while trying to climb up the back of Daddy. Oh, no, you're gonna sit back down. Okay. Anyway, needless to say, when it was finally time, you know, a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, I didn't get emotional." I bawled my eyes out. I got to cut the umbilical cord, and I got very emotional.
How my water broke was hilarious.
How her water broke was funny. This was, and I quote, the exact statement she made. "What was that?" I'm like, "What?" She said, "Either I just peed the bed or my water just broke." Now, mind you, this was at about almost 3 o'clock in the morning.
3, it was almost 7.
Oh, yeah, it was almost 7 in the morning.
And we hadn't slept yet because I was having contractions all day and they were getting kind of close together.
And we were just starting to settle in to go to bed at around 7 o'clock in the morning. And then that happened. So we ended up going to the hospital and everything. She was induced into labor.
Admitted.
Yeah, admitted to labor. And everything. She was in labor for actually, what, 36 hours?
I'm not exactly sure. It had been 30 hours since my water had broke. But
Yeah.
that whole day before I was having contractions.
So I'm just going to say between 38 and 42 hours of labor. Before he ended up coming out and everything. It is not a quick process, so don't ever believe the movies. They do not tell the truth.
Oh my god, I wish it was as quick as the movies.
I am very proud of her. She got to 8 centimeters without an epidural, then she started feeling it, and she's like, oh my god, give me the goddamn epidural.
Well, it wasn't just that. Because I was getting so stressed out because of how much pain I was in, he started decelling a little bit, so it was recommended that I get it, and maybe that would help. So that's what I did.
Yeah. But needless to say, the time came, he was out, I got to cut the umbilical cord. I was unaware of it, but before she was admitted to being in labor, I ended up passing out in one of the hospital chairs that they have in the rooms, which I don't know how I managed to get comfortable enough to fall asleep in it.
You fell asleep a few times.
Yeah, I fell asleep quite a few times because I hadn't been to bed yet. She went through the entire labor process without sleeping. When it comes down to it, though, like I said, it was the longest 9 months I've ever waited for anything in my entire life. And one thing I can tell you is having a child is definitely worth the wait. I will be the first to admit, before I became a father, I was lazy. I had a lack of energy. I do not look nearly as good as I do now. I gotta keep my hair cut, because he has a habit of pulling my hair. I actually have to shave my beard because he's starting to be able to pull on it.
You.
Well, my fiance usually shaves my beard for me because I can't see it to trim it. My nose gets in the way. Even in a mirror, I don't know what it is, but I can look straight in a mirror and I still can't see straight. I swear, mirrors make me look drunk. But when it comes down to it, I mean, there's absolutely nothing like having a child, whether it be a boy or a girl. To me, it really doesn't matter what the gender is, because my child is my child.
We knew he was a boy from the beginning.
It does not matter whatsoever.
He was too stubborn, that's for sure.
With
everything we went through in the beginning, thinking we were going to lose him, he wouldn't give up.
The ultrasounds were chaos. Like, literally. They absolutely were chaos in the making. Especially when we went to go do the gender.
We weren't expecting to find out the gender.
We weren't expecting to at first. He finally stopped clamping his legs together. And
well, I found that out myself, and I told you guys when I got out, because I was about 17 weeks at the time, and I was having a lot of cramping, a lot of bleeding, and they recommended that I go in and get checked.
Yeah. The one thing that kind of put us in a difficult position, in all honesty, was the fact of the matter that he, for the life of us, just did not want to agree with his mother's blood type. The reason being for that is because me and his mother had 2 different blood types. Will you give me my remote?
Well, it's not just that. I have a negative blood type, so any time I get pregnant, I have to have Rogaine shots.
Yes, Rogaine shots.
Otherwise, my baby's gonna, or the baby's gonna be bought off with an infection.
Rogaine shots are definitely a pain in the butt.
They're not bad. They feel better than IVs do.
Oh yeah, that's true. I know I shouldn't be freaking trying to find something while I'm doing this, but yeah, screw it. I'll look for it later. The aspect of it is though that having a child is actually a blessing for me. As you can see, there's that cute little adorable guy. He's trying to steal Daddy's laptop right now. That's his mother. She's camera shy. She's probably gonna beat me with a ugly stick later.
It's not that I'm camera shy. I just don't like cameras.
She tried to kill me with this. My dang Dead Island bottle opener. You see what I mean when I said she's probably going to try and kill me or beat me with an ugly stick? I should stop giving her ideas. Yes, I know. I put my rings on. No, Xander, you can't have Daddy's laptop. But when it all comes down to it, having a child for me was just the world's biggest blessing. It caused me to, as much as I say this, grow up. It honestly did. I'm more mature now. I'm actually funnier now, if you can believe that. I'm just so much better of a person than I am now. Which I'm actually quite glad about. This is my little family. Myself, obviously. There's Xander and his mother. And, you know, it's just been a wonderful experience for me being a father. But, unfortunately, I've got to have this video come to a close now. But if you're ever thinking about having a child, make sure you're ready for it before anything. You don't want to just jump into having a child and not have a plan.
We didn't have a plan.
We didn't have a plan, and things kind of had been sort of rough, but we have had a lot of help. So that's kind of where we were able to make our plan.
Especially Mom and Dad.
Especially her mother and her father. They have done so much to already help us with him.
His great-grandpa has bought him formula. The first month he was born, we had so many issues with his formula that we couldn't always get it on time. I wasn't planning on formula feeding him to begin with.
Yeah. Anyway, this is actually where I'm going to be closing the video. So, this is Sebastian Mab, Xander Mab, and Caitlin Mab saying, from the obelisk, we will see you next time. Say bye, Xander. Really? You're going to be speechless now.
He's looking at himself. He's occupied.
Say bye.